Right. Welcome to the Lucy Letby broom cupboard. Just going to look at a few bits and bobs, something to get your teeth into between Lucy Letby analysis videos. I don't have many followers, but the ones I do have are well into the case. In fact, even I get a couple of trolls, and even they actually know quite a lot about the case, which is good. So, I appreciate some of the trolls sometimes. Now, about the police announcements of the arrests and the new cases. Lucy Letby Analysis mentioned the other day that he thought it was like, rather the police doing it on two separate days, he thought was like a PR stunt. I mean, he might be right, but my opinion is I think the police made a mistake when they released that. They made an announcement that these three people have been arrested, and it actually majorly backfired because, well, one, they didn't. I was surprised they didn't actually release the names of who had been arrested. But even if they did, the case is so complicated, and the general public are so ignorant of most of the facts in the case. I'm talking about like the TikTok generation. This is the sort of thing I saw on TikTok, and the only other people who've actually mentioned this was this an independent article the other day. It says here, when a few days ago Cheshire Police arrested and questioned 3 former execs, suspicion of gross negligence manslaughter, many people appeared to think that this was in Letby's favour, the truth at last. So all people were thinking, because they know that the public is still on she confessed and she stalked the parents and stuff like that. That's as far as they know. Well, not my followers, obviously, but like I say, I'm talking about the TikTokers, and all they read is 3 more people have been arrested, and to them it's like shared blame. So it just raised more questions and made it seem more like she was possibly innocent, and it completely backfired. And then that's why I think the following day they went, we better pass this full file to for some more cases. Not much going on in the news. There's a couple of opinion pieces in the Sun the other day. One saying she's void of humanity, and then another couple of days later giving the pro-innocence. Now, this opinion piece of her being void of humanity, it was really sort of retro, as in everything that's discussed is like old news that is basically wrong. Talking about coincidences, and it's almost like he's had his ears, he's had his head in the sand and just gone back in time a year, and just making the same arguments about statistical oddities and the post-it note, air embolism. I actually honestly thought it was maybe written by ChatGPT or something first, it's a completely worthless article. But ever since I saw Liz Hull doing loads and loads of hit pieces, I actually look at who the author is now, and this is Nigel Bunyan, and I thought, oh, I wonder if he's got anything to do with Liz Hull. And I went on, you go on Muck Rack, and it just shows you all the articles that he's published. And what do you know? Even though he's working for the Sun and not the Mail, I take it he's a freelancer. He's been doing Lucy Letby stories with Liz Hull. So basically, it's Liz Hull's opinion again, fairly worthless. No doubt next week we'll have another article opinion saying she's guilty by this Rory Tingle guy. But yeah, he's been just working with Liz Hull on Lucy Letby stuff. So there he is. Yeah, not really worth reading. But this is interesting. The other day, so they balanced it out with another opinion piece, saying I was sure Letby was guilty, then spent weeks poring over evidence, and now I'm convinced no babies were murdered. Now, the interesting part of this was, I'll have to find it. He was commissioned to write an article about Letby truthers, the internet army of sleuths pleading for her innocence. So basically, he was trying to do a hit piece on people like, well, I don't know if I would be an internet sleuther, but he was trying to do a hit piece on people who thought she was innocent. And it's interesting that he was commissioned to write that. Very interesting. Yeah, sorry, going back to this Nigel Bunyan piece, a lot of it he was talking about how he saw her in the dock, and it must, I don't know if Nick Johnson, QC, KC, had at some point pulled out a stripy umbrella and started twirling it around to hypnotise the jury and everyone there, and mesmerise them about how she's guilty, because people like especially Judith Moritz and this gentleman, they're sort of writing how they think she's guilty, but you get this sense that they can't actually express why they think she's guilty, other than she just sort of looked it in the dock. And I don't know if it was something about the visual impact of seeing somebody in, a bit like showing how the police showed them arresting Letby. Actually seeing someone in the dock perhaps automatically throws across a feeling of that person must be guilty. I don't know, but yeah, it's really, really weak. I'm going to talk about a couple of Thirlwall stuff actually. Right, just some bits and bobs that I've found. So I'm going through witness statements. Dr. Catherine Davis. Right. So this was child C. All the team present agreed that we had reached a point of futility, and active resus was stopped. Heart rate and saturations monitoring was turned off, but we continued with ventilation breaths via an endotracheal tube and chest compressions. At the time, this felt like a very short period, but in hindsight, it was relatively prolonged. I'm quite interested as to what it is they blocked out here. Child C began gasping, and the capnograph started changing colour. The capnograph indicates when carbon dioxide is being produced by changing colour. There was often no colour change during a cardiac arrest due to poor gas transfer in the lungs. I quietly alerted Dr. Gibbs to this. He was present on the unit, although I'm unsure if he was in the room at the time. We stopped chest compressions and ventilation breaths. We probably removed the endotracheal tube, although I'm uncertain about this. Child C continued to show signs of life with some spontaneous breaths and a good heart rate. The fact that this happened following a prolonged period of chest compressions with the use of medication, without the use of medication and without any response to earlier efforts when drugs were used was highly unusual. I was unable to think of any medical explanation why this had happened. I would have discussed this with Dr. Gibbs, but did not feel the need to escalate it any further. I did not have any suspicion at the time that Child C's collapse was caused by someone actively doing something to harm them. Child C was reported to the coroner and post-mortem was requested in view of the unknown cause of death. So, in short, they were trying to resuscitate the baby, and they stopped trying to resuscitate it, and then they found it was the baby temporarily sort of came to life again, and she thought that was unusual and didn't have an explanation for it. So, two things about that. She's sort of giving the impression that this coming back to life again temporarily, or it being, which was an unusual thing, is somehow all linked to something that Lucy Letby had done, or air embolism. I think Child C, was air embolus. The fact that they can't explain, she couldn't explain something. At no point did no other babies showed this as a symptom. So I'm not really sure what they're getting at. And also, firstly, this is actually called the Lazarus effect. It is quite rare, but the fact that she can't explain it, doesn't mean that something suspicious is going on. It just means that doctors don't know everything. The Lazarus effect is a known thing, so doctors should know it. So the fact that she didn't know it doesn't mean that Lucy is guilty of something. It just goes to show that, because the whole case was built on the fact that they didn't understand why the babies died, they didn't understand this, they didn't understand that. Them not understanding doesn't mean, therefore, aliens. So, yes. Sorry, I paused it for a minute, I got lost. Okay. Another thing of interest from this doctor, who was Catherine Davis. She says here, I have subsequently been involved with a case where a child suffered from an air embolism, a known but rare complication of a surgical procedure, which led to a cardiac arrest. The child's heart started beating again after a period of time, presumably when the air from within the circulation dissipated. Well, so she's actually just contradicted what she just what she said there, really. Well, I mean, she was she didn't say that she thought this was to do with air embolism, but she's contradicted the prosecution's case there, because the whole thing, the whole prosecution's case was these, normally you can what Dr. Evans said, normally you could resuscitate any baby so easily, drop of a hat, and so if it was air embolus, as that this doctor's saying, then you could even resuscitate if it had been air embolism. So just something worth noting there. Next, I've got witness statement from Dr. Emily Thomas. Now, in the trial, it hasn't been spoken about much about the twins being more vulnerable than single births, singletons or whatever. The prosecution sort of used it as Letby was targeting twins. They've implied that, but it hasn't. I didn't get the impression at the trial that that it was put forward about the twin, that if a child is a twin, they are inherently more vulnerable. However, this doctor, was Emily Thomas, says we anticipated that the twins, so she knows, may have needed a bit more support than another baby of the same gestation, as they were twins. So this Dr. Thomas is aware of that. So yet, when I come on to witness statement of Katarzyna Anna Kirk, doctor, this was a bit of a whitewash. My professional, talking about child O and P. Now, child O wasn't just a twin, it was a triplet. My professional opinion at the time was that I would not have anticipated child O's collapsed. I described it as unexpected, as the clinical cause of child O was uncomplicated and child O was making good progress. It is very unlikely to anticipate a collapse of a baby who is well with low risk in perinatal history. Interesting, being a triplet, low risk in perinatal history. Okay. And next, finally, baby G. Baby G. So this is I think it's Dr. Chang. Dr. Chang. Okay. Talking about child G. I have been asked whether I or other members of staff, surprised by child G's deteriorations at 10:20, and whether I had any concerns about this. I cannot recall any feelings of surprise or concern regarding child G's condition on the morning of 21st of September, beyond my concern to treat and stabilise her. I cannot recall having any concern about her treatment beyond the concern I would have for any vulnerable patient whose condition was unstable. Therefore, she's saying the child G was unstable. Yet, the opening prosecution statement for child G, opening statement, was clinically stable. So Lady Thirlwall must be reading these as well. So it's not just me reading them. So she must know the truth. Is this why the report has been delayed? She must know. She's not silly, is she? I don't know.